Yeah. And then if you want to do a microphone check. Well, I already started recording. I got the slide. On your Teams, yeah.
Let's try that. You hear me on Teams?
Yes.
See, now I hear Julie on the podium. You got to be super quiet back there, Julie, with all the excitement that's about to happen. So how do we, let's do this. Can I get a pop out? I need every inch of real estate here. Oh, it's presenter. I don't like that. Don't want presenter. Hide presenter view. All right, we're getting closer. Let's see if we have noise. That's gonna be the big thing that we need. Do we have noise in the room? We only have it on Julie's computer. We only have it on your computer, Julie. We're gonna need that in the room. It's a hybrid meeting, man. We heard something. We heard a bass note. Come on in. Oh my gosh, we have noise again. Woo! All right, let's get back to it. Everyone cross your fingers. First and foremost, can you see that back in the room? We get the lights down a little bit. Maybe one of these possible. Oh my gosh, I'm a diva. I know. I've got too many requests here.
Pick up M&M's also.
I know. I asked for red. That was my favorite color. Oh, there we go. Can everyone still see? Not a safety hazard. All right, as long as you see your toes. Woo! Well, we made it. Can you still hear me? Do you need this mic? Oh, that's too dark. I'm scared. All right. Welcome, everyone. It's a nice topic. Fabric, the unified data platform for the era of AI. My name is Alex Powers. I live here in St. Louis. We run the Microsoft Fabric and Power BI user group down in the city. We meet every third Thursday. So in the middle of your day, if you're like, hey, I want to kind of get out of the office at 2:30 to maybe like 4 o'clock is when our meeting time is. We get you on the road, hopefully out by, kind of the rush hour. Tell your boss, if you want me to go do this stuff, you need to invest in me. I need to go to these meetings. We love the St. Louis SQL Server and BI user group. Have done a lot with them in the past. So the fact that we're able to come back together to make our data community stronger here locally, freaking awesome. After today, though, like we do have two different communities, come hang out with us, come hang out with them. Hopefully, if you enjoy events like this where you want to come together as one big community, what's the cadence? Let Julie know. Let me know. Do you want to do it once a quarter? Do you want to do it twice a year? Is it just an annual thing where we just kind of all get together, kind of enjoy some pizza, enjoy some fun, whatever it may be, but feedback, that's what we love. Whew. All right, so with that, my name, again, Alex Powers, work at Microsoft. I sit on the product engineering team for Microsoft Fabric. So if you're on Reddit, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Blue Sky, and you like yelling about the product and saying, why doesn't it work this way? Yell at me. Happy to take that feedback. Of course, now that you know me, you can't say all the nasty things. You're no longer anonymous. I know you. I know you. I know you. So, just give me a call, especially if you're blocked. Love to kind of help you get unblocked. But find me online. My gosh, if we haven't said enough, thank you. I drove 40 minutes from the city to get here. This is like a 20-minute drive. It took me 40 minutes. It's so long to get out here. First time leaving the house, first time putting on jeans in like 3 weeks. It's been a long holiday. I did it all tonight. And I just want to say thank you for you doing the same, showing up for us. And pizza, yes, the food. I'm starving. Oh, All right, so you've already heard this. I don't need to tell you, AI is changing the world. You're seeing it everywhere, every social media site, every presentation. All you're hearing is AI. You're exhausted. You're tired of it. Whew. We'll get used to it. I always encourage everyone to spend like 5 or 10 minutes a day playing around. You never know what you'll carry forward to the next day. Hey, I found this one or two things that work really well. I'll do that tomorrow. The next day, maybe not. Who here is using AI today to write code for you? Yeah, if you're not, it's falling behind. It's not, well, you're not good enough because you didn't write the code yourself. Find the problems that you need to solve them. Maybe the AI got you 90% of the way there. Close that last 10%. You understand the problems. Data, though, oh my gosh, we're data people. I was talking to this gentleman in the elevator. He said, I used to do SQL Server all the time. I loved it, but now I'm doing AI all the time. Man, data is so cool, though. It is the fuel powers this AI. Of course, as we look at the landscape of options, all these different vendors that are popping up left and right saying, give us money, give us seed, give us funding. Whew, it's huge. Some things are better than others. Totally get it. A lot of different options, a lot of things that solve different problems. Big fan of all the companies that are creating opportunities out here. But what we're hearing, of course, is Unify. I am the Chief Information Officer, and I do not want to be the Chief Integration Officer. I don't want to go and evaluate product to product to see which ones talk together the best. Simplify this for me. Help me unleash AI into my data estate. This is what we're hearing from every company. I talk to you and you say, I'm sorry, Alex, here are my list of requirements. It has to just work. 5 by 5, 5 seconds to sign up, 5 minutes to wow. Has to be frictionless. I need to just be able to click a button, start deploying stuff. Need to have instant provisioning, quick results with an intuitive UX. A lot of my users are using Power BI. Who here is using Power BI right now? Who here is using Fabric? Liars. If you're using Power BI, you're using Fabric. It's the same. It's all the same platform. You're used to it. Success by default. I don't want to create a career out of turning knobs and doing settings and all these. Make it performant out of the box. Auto-optimized, auto-integrated, centralized administration, just a tenant-wide governance. Who here is using Purview? Help people. Awesome. And then, of course, just centralized security management with Entra ID. So if you're using Azure Active Directory, the same resource groups, the same security groups, the same user profile, security, SPNs, everything all ready for you. Are you kidding me? More requirements? You say, Alex, you need to take me from isolated components. This one thing only does this one problem. You need to take us away from the single database solution to say, you can use this one thing. It doesn't talk to anything else. And then I also had to go out and find an AI vendor. I need to have a unified stack, all the data and AI built in. It has to be one click away. This is quite the list of requirements you're giving me. Tell me one platform that has to do all this? I don't know how I feel about that. You say, Alex, we don't stop there. You need to be releasing new updates all the time. I don't want to be in a 3-year product release box cycle that says now it's time to install 2002 or 2012 R2 SQL Server. I can't remember the versions anymore. I need to know what you're deploying. Of course, I'm frustrated this week. I'm going to come back next week to look at your updates and the new things you fixed. Oh my goodness, you delivered that thing. Now I'm upset about this other thing. I'm sorry. I'm just picking on everyone today because I had a fun live stream. But we hear you. These are the opportunities to go and vote. So ideas.fabric.microsoft.com. Tell us where we should focus. Again, who here is reading these Fabric release blogs almost every month? How long are they getting? Like 70 pages long, right? That scroll bar, huge. Pick the parts that are most impactful, go read those sections, figure out, hey, I'm working with a lake house. I saw some new features that came out. I'll work on that tomorrow. You don't want to consume everything all at once. I just try and tell everyone all the time, don't make this overwhelming. Like figure out your project, figure out the use cases, and start plugging in the different tools. All right. Weekly releases, monthly releases. Not just that, I need to know where you're going. What's your roadmap? I have projects coming up. I need to start aligning to what you're releasing. Here's our roadmap. aka.ms/fabric roadmap. You can see what we have for our upcoming semesters. Alex, what the heck is a semester? A semester is a 6-month deliverable time frame. So our current semester will take us till the end of March. So if you look out at our roadmap, you'll see everything that we have targeted for the end of March. After that, we'll be in another semester, another planning. We'll dump 6 months worth of new features and things that we want to release. You'll go, oh my goodness, that's the thing that I need. It's going to land in X month because you have it. You can understand where it's going to land, and hopefully your projects will be right behind it too. Whew. Talked about this a little bit. How many people are using Fabric? We saw, about 1/4 of the hands were still up. The Power BI folks, your hands shot to the sky. You were so excited. Yes, I use Power BI all the time. I love it. We're seeing the same trajectory here. Who here is just a Power BI person? Same here. I came from Excel. I attended a dashboard in a day, probably in that second row here at Doherty. And I said, oh my gosh, this technology, this will change everything that I'm doing. I got a little nerdy. I started visiting forums. I started reading books. I started doing SQLBI.com, all their different courses. I said, oh my gosh, I love this stuff. I didn't have the skill set. I just knew the problems I needed to solve. Eventually, the technology got a little bit easier for me. So the on-ramp to a lot of the stuff, we're seeing the exact same. This adoption thing, oh my gosh, we're still talking about Fabric. Who here is DP 600 certified? Congratulations. So this is the official Microsoft certification, one of our fastest growing. So if you ever see out there, hey, Microsoft is giving away free certifications, it generally aligns with like the different conferences. Take advantage of it. If you don't end up with a free badge or free certification, go talk to your boss. This is part of my learning development. I want to grow. You need to invest in me. Have them, take that 100 and I think $60, $40. I can't remember the last cost, but take advantage of these. Is anyone here Microsoft certified in other products? Power BI, DP 300? Yeah, a couple. Who here is on the fence about certification? Maybe I should ask that. Like, this is the first time you're really hearing about it. You're like, I don't really know if I should do it. Oh, the 700? Yeah, next one up. Yeah.
Exposes you to a lot of the capabilities that.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I thought the DP 600, at least from my experience, it did a really good job of showing me experiences that I don't live in all the time. So it's like, well, write a little bit of Spark and do a little bit of real time. I don't know. I don't do that. Maybe like 1% of my year, but at least I know when to position it and when it's the right tool for the job. Cool. Multi-workload development. This one's a little bit more interesting. So we have the Power BI folks. They start with their desktop. They import the data, upload it in the service, and say we're done. Here's your bar chart. That's not it. Multiple workloads. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So most workloads 3+ is what we're seeing now. Hey, I used to import my data, but now I'm landing it into a lakehouse. Now I'm building a direct lake model against my Power BI for the semantic model, and I don't have to do data set refreshes anymore. So I've eliminated 4 hours worth of processing time. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, what else can we do? Let's do some notebooks. Let's do some generative AI. Let's do text sentiment. Let's do classification, bidding, whatever else data scientists are up to these days. I don't know, a little bit of everything. But it's very cool to see that people aren't just using one thing. It's 1, 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5, it's 6. Just very, very cool for me to think about that from the Power BI user. And of course, we love our active user communities. We're part of one of these here tonight. So just 2.6 million members, so across about 400+ user groups just across the globe. If you're out, hey, I just want to nerd out tonight. There's a lot of virtual meetings, hopefully for those who are dialing in today, kind of enjoying that. If you're ever out traveling, part of conferences and stuff, always check out local user groups. We're always trying to do something very close to that as well. Awesome. Whew. That's Fabric, the unified data platform for AI transformation. Any questions thus far? Go ahead.
How often do you guys get the targeted dates?
I do not have a percentage on that. Yeah. So Tony's question is, hey, Alex, I'm trying to align a lot of my projects to your quoted dates. could be Q1 2025. We used to be monthly, but we now kind of give ourselves like a quarter buffer. I would say pretty good. The last round here, I would say as of last year, we actually went into a code freeze after Black Friday. So you're about to see about 8 weeks worth of development dumped onto you all at once. So get ready for that. It'll be a very busy January. Yeah, so just Black Friday impact and some other things. So across Microsoft, we had a code freeze across majority of our products.
I'm curious. You find
Yeah.
like people take Fabric, you're like, obviously you got all these things, and you're like, wow, that's like the one thing. Like for me, Power BI, like when you guys finally got data flows,
Oh yeah.
really solid. It was like, boom, right? Like you could do all this stuff, but to me that was like a big leap from what you see the last year or so. Looking at Fabric, what has been like the one thing where you're like, here's all the stuff, but this one thing rose to the top from Fabric. Is it TTL? Is it data? Like, what is?
Oh, I love this question. He's like, hey, I'm trying to find my place in Fabric. What is the things that you're seeing a lot of people latching onto right out of the gate? It's an amazing sticker over there. It's OneLake. Who here is spinning up Azure Data Lake Gen 2 storages? 3 or 4 people. Yeah. So if you've ever spun up a data lake before and you've had to do all the networking, provisioning, making sure that it talks to everything, man, Fabric Lakehouse. Hit deploy, start throwing your data in it. You can start doing schemas on top of it, of course, with direct lake mode and everything else. You can start doing your notebooks against it. So I'd be like, that's the most popular feature. Now, after that, like I'm very selfish. I care about data integration. I'm a data flow person as well, but I'm seeing a lot of people doing their first data pipelines. I would say it's a little cumbersome out of the box because they're like, I don't understand how to do this. But once they figured out their first copy activity, oh my goodness, they're running wild. So very excited. And then copy job, if you've not heard of that, it's a 5x5 experience of connect to data, land data. I think 3 or 4 clicks we did during one of our user groups a while back. Like that will be talked about a lot over the next year for sure. What else? Fabric, thoughts, comments, opinions. Oh, still, yeah. Yeah. So the Tableau thing, like we have Tableau local user groups and stuff like that. I always love our Tableau people. Crazy bunch. The data fam, I think, is the community, right? Like if they're having fun in their application, man, I want them to have a blast. The parts that I care about with Fabric, and this is something I talked about down in Nashville when I attended a Tableau kind of a joint multi-vendor conference. I said, how many people from Tableau have databases? About 0 people's hands raised. I said, well, with this lake house, you now have an endpoint and you have your database. If you want to do that, they're like, oh my gosh, I can start building my own databases and IT won't even know. Like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Of course you can have warehouse, like the fun stuff too, but I care about open and accessible endpoints, which Fabric now unblocks for those people. So they have a SQL Server driver in Tableau. If they want to use Fabric and use Tableau on the front end, man, have a blast. I think our bar charts and line charts look the exact same as any other bar chart and line chart. So at that point, it may be up to their vendor and their purchasing and everything else, but use the tool of your choice. That's my recommendation. Whew. Awesome. These 3 pillars, AI-powered data platform, open and AI-ready data lake, open, what we just talked about, and then kind of AI-enabled insights. Some of the different things, just a complete data platform. We used to be called the unified analytics platform. And maybe we changed that ever so subtly. You didn't even notice, but up here, we used to say analytics. What changed? Does anyone know? What are we doing? You said we're doing more than analytics. Interesting.
Yeah, because you brought all the Azure standalone products into a single. Way I describe it to executives is you have the Microsoft Office suite. And like, oh yeah, I understand PowerPoint,
Yep.
Excel, all that stuff. Well, Fabric is the data suite from Microsoft now. You got Databricks and Power BI and data storage and all that. And it's not piecemeal.
Awesome. Cool.
So that's
You're hired for marketing. I like that. Yeah. So for me, one of the things recently was we moved away from kind of OLAP, so just analytics, into OLTP with the introduction of Fabric SQL database. So if you want to start building applications using GraphQL, SQL databases, Fabric user functions, if you're using like Azure functions today, we have a lot of those incorporated into the system here. So we are that unified platform, which I was just talking about. Of course, this one lake thing that I'm so excited about, multi-cloud. So if you're like, hey, we're not fully bought in on this Microsoft thing. We still use some Google. We still use Databricks, right? That's one of the shortcuts. What's the other cloud vendor? AWS. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, is there another big one I'm missing? And of course, open at every tier. So those endpoints we were just talking about, that one lake, you can get to it through the ABFSS file path, Azure Blob File System Storage. I think it's the acronym. And then of course, here at the very end, the part that I love, built into M365. So can I get to my data from my Excel spreadsheet? Absolutely. Whew. Third most popular feature, export to Excel. Number 1 and 2 is OK and cancel. All right. I know, that's a good one, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Going back to slide.
Yeah.
Just Microsoft.
Yes. So that's yeah. So that was one of the items that's out on the release plan. The roadmap is the private endpoints at the workspace level. I think you and me may have talked maybe in our last meeting where we were like, hey, you're doing a little bit of tricks at the tenant level right now at the private link, right? Yeah. Yeah. I just want to say it's great to see you again, and thanks for still yelling at me. So let's connect after this. Let's make sure we get you those dates that are most important for you. Yeah, go ahead.
Not to pull out of maybe what is your box. Stuff. Everything's Copilot, and the vector data store that all the co-pilots for individuals and companies are using, that will refresh that existence that plug into their co-pilot. Is there a bridge? Is there an overlap with Fabric in that world?
Maybe let's check at the end content here in the stuff, and you can kind of keep me honest where we're at, because Copilot Studio, if you're kind of tying in with that, maybe, but it's not my complete realm. So, Drew, is there a question as well? We'll come to you, Tony. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So the question was just around vector databases and all this other crazy stuff, especially with generative AI and copilots. Is there a seamless integration maybe within Fabric? So he'll keep me honest here later on. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We're talking about applications. Gonna happen with Fabric. What happens to the rest of the Power platform?
This is an interesting question. So he's saying, hey, what's going on with this Power Platform stuff? I thought Power BI sat next to Power Automate and Power Apps. What about Power BI and Office? I thought we used to sit next to Excel and Teams. We have those deep integrations, right? The way my leadership, Kim Manis, always likes to say is we're in an open relationship. So we sit with Azure, we sit with Power Platform. Anywhere where data's at. I have a fun slide there at the very end for you too on that one, but absolutely, like we still want to keep the simple stuff for our Power BI users who are coming from an Excel background. Absolutely, embed it within your Power Apps, do some Power Automate flows with it. But for people who are more of like the data engineering pro side, like what else can they do? And then how do we have the same environment for them to do it all together?
So maybe also integrated into Fabric at some point, or
are they not? I thought Power BI was part of Fabric. You can embed a Power App into a Power BI report. I don't know what you're talking about. Think on it. Let me know. Tony.
About the direct connection from one lake to Excel.
Yeah.
Say that I had a Excel table that my users wanted to import Excel.
Yep.
Is that object level security? Or...
Yeah, still. Yeah. So we'll still inherit. His question was, now that I've started writing data out to one lake, I've set some security policies. If I want people to connect to that, will those still be inherited through other applications? Absolutely. Got you covered there. Awesome. AI powered data platform. This is what our slide used to look like. Data factory, data engineering, data warehouse, data science, real-time intelligence, and Power BI. Whew. We didn't get rid of anything. We just condensed the pillars here. So analytics, you still have data warehousing, you still have data science, you still have data engineering, but we introduced databases. This is coming out of Ignite. So OLTP, if you want to start building applications within Fabric, you're saying, I'm done with all this Azure stuff. I'm tired of all this networking. Just simplify it for me. Whew, we've done it.
I think.
Go ahead.
No, because I was thinking about his question.
Yeah.
Our platform. We have this perfect example right now where we had a big Power App. But to do the Power App, you had to have a back end, which was Dataverse. And then we still had, the Power App's front end and going to Power BI. So I guess his question is like with this Fabric, particularly with databases, that's something where this Dataverse, like SharePoint, has its quirks.
Yep.
Where you could still have your Power App, but now your back end could be. Will there be these integrations with the database? So we can talk in database, which is it's a much longer.
SQL premium connector, right?
Or just, well, at least you know what SQL's going to do, whereas you don't know what Dataverse is always going to do.
So this gentleman stated SharePoint is perfect. Would I ever leave?
Who said it?
I know it does work up to 5,000 items. I did not pay this gentleman to be here. We will have something here very shortly for you to talk about that, but just this word that will roll off the tongue, tip of the tongue, translytical.
You said that.
Oh yeah, just rolls off the tongue. All right, let's hope we have some audio here.
Data platform now brings together all your data with Fabric databases. A new generation of autonomous databases that streamline application development. In seconds, provision and deploy a SQL database built upon the same proven industry-leading SQL Server engine, all on a simple and intuitive software as a service platform. Spend less time on resource planning with auto-scaling compute and fast, consistent app performance with automatic resource optimization and intelligent auto-indexing, all while working with favorite tools like VS Code and GitHub. Accelerate innovation with AI-assisted T-SQL code generation and chat-based Copilot assistance. Create unique experiences with the help of built-in vector support and Azure AI integration. Finally, you can experience peace of mind with databases that are secured by default, have automated disaster recovery, high availability, and with all your data replicated to OneLake, accessible by Fabric's analytical engines. Building intelligent AI applications is faster and easier with autonomous Fabric databases, part of the unified Microsoft Fabric data platform.
Man, that was a good video. Woo.
Which makes spending SQL money sound fun.
I know. I want to go deploy a few SQL databases. All right, so I'm amazed at that video. I'm still like recalling some of the stuff that I saw. Chris, I know that we saw in there we could open up not only development in the web browser, we could also do Visual Studio Code. We connect to our SQL database. We could even use the world's best application, SQL Server Management Studio, connect to our SQL database. Open and accessible, right? Use the tools and the applications of your choice. Two other things, though, I want to kind of quickly call out because you may start seeing these. One is going to be industry solutions. Anyone here in healthcare, finance, gov? Yeah, like those are highly regulated. You're basically you have a template on top of a template. Out in Microsoft Fabric industry solutions, these are pre-built that you can go out and deploy yourself. So it'll be multiple components of a Fabric solution. We'll deploy the lakehouse or deploy all the fun stuff, the notebooks, whatever else it may need to complete the end solution. And then, of course, if you want to extend it past that, feel free. But sustainability, healthcare, and retail. And then kind of last one here is going to be Fabric Workload Development Kit. Anyone here in ISV? Are you building software and solutions for other businesses? No? All right. Well, if you're thinking about it, hey, riches in the niches, let's go build some stuff. What you can do is you can build your own workloads out in Microsoft Fabric and deploy those.
Give an example of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Esri, I know that they've got a workload out there too, where they'll instantly deploy some of their different software and solutions. So you would go out into like a Azure marketplace, and I think that there'll be a Fabric marketplace here too, and you can hit deploy that solution. Some of my friends out in the community, Power BI.tips, so if you ever been to their website, he's got like a theme generator builder. So instead of going out to the website, you can go directly into the portal here and start using his tools. So very interesting and cool. I think there's Informatica. There's a ton of different vendors that will be starting to have stuff out here. But just thinking of like the Azure marketplace. Yeah.
Like if you're like Cat, big company, and you have clients who you want to be able to interact their data with your data.
That's more data sharing, I would think. So this is more like trying to think like who's a good ISV to think of. Like let's think like trying to think
Build your own Fabric app to be used by others.
yeah, like a web analytics. Maybe you're doing something out there for marketing or something to that effect. Like you're a company, you've built a solution that you're going out and selling to different people. Instead of you going out and selling to them directly, you can say, you're using Fabric today, go and deploy that workload.
So, company that always uses SAP, you can create
Absolutely.
SAP,
SAP.
create all this stuff that connects to SAP, and you put together your own set of
Yeah. Yeah.
custom dashboards. You can productize that.
So SAS, what is it? Statistical analysis software. They have something. Yeah.
Does it does it expand all the way out to like notebooks?
Anything that's in Fabric, they can build in their solution. Yeah. Yeah. So again, this is just one of that openness of the platform. And again, something to kind of be aware of if you start seeing it out in the portal. Skills the most demanding projects, of course, anyone that's out here, SQL developers, business analysts, data scientists, project managers, developers, database admins, engineers, whew, all used in the same portal.
Real quick question.
Yeah.
Just because it's a joint group of BI as well as
Yeah.
SQL. What's the limitation on a Fabric database size?
Oh, I have no idea. Yeah. Sean was asking, hey, what is the current limitations of the public preview release of SQL databases? I don't know. I think maybe 100 terabytes or something. You go out and take a look. Let us know, though, Sean. It should be documented. Should be relatively soon on that one. Yeah. I think that they want to get that one into people's hands as quickly as possible.
The database.
Yeah.
Assuming Fabric capacity.
Yes. So the question was, I want to start using these SQL databases. I have an existing premium capacity. Will that be charged against those? Or is there an add-on billing like Dataverse, or they've got like 40 different add-ons you have to buy? No, this is all single billing. My favorite is called the one bill, just like the one leg. One bill. All right.
Wow.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Place. Instead of starting from scratch, and efficient ways to begin is by utilizing task flows. They offer a compelling suite of visual architectures that can serve as a starting point for your projects. In this case, I opted for the medallion architecture that is available. After choosing your task flow, you can start adding items by clicking on the task and using the contextual menu to pick an item from that list. Just like that, the item has been added. Moving on to an active project with numerous items, task flows have been employed to structure the project effectively. Switching between task flows is simple. Just pick select task flow from the add list and effortlessly transition. Another great feature of task flows is the ability to filter the item list based on the selected task. As you can see, as I select the given task, the below item list is automatically filtered to the items associated with that task. Lastly, I have the ability to tailor the task flow to suit my project's requirements. To do this, click on Add, select the desired task, and then effortlessly connect it to an existing task through drag and drop. Okay, now that our project has been launched in production, we need to incorporate CI/CD into the solution. Fortunately, CI/CD and source control are built into each Fabric workspace. My role in this project is report developer, and I have been tasked with creating a feature branch for impending report modifications. To achieve this, one can leverage the new branching experience in Fabric, which allows the creation of a new branch as well as a new workspace, both in sync with the production workspace and branch. Once the process finishes, every item will be incorporated into the new workspace where modifications can take place. Once the change is made, I need to get it committed to my feature branch. To do so, simply click the source control button, load your content, select the item you want to commit, and finally click the commit button. Just like that, the item is committed to your feature branch. In Azure DevOps, you notice that the new branch has been added to my repository. I'm able to compare my feature branch with my dev branch and instantly spot the differences between them. Following the pull request and synchronization of both branches, returning the Fabric will trigger a notification about this change, and I can utilize Fabric's integrated CI/CD capabilities to promptly implement that change. With Fabric's integrated deployment pipelines, I can easily deploy updates throughout my development stages. Here you can observe Fabric identifying differences between the development and test phases. Simply select the dropdown to examine the disparities and then smoothly implement those changes across various phases. Additionally, this can be accomplished programmatically through Fabric's built-in APIs.
Awesome. Whew. Built-in source control. Who here is using task flows today? Task flows. Tony, what are task flows? Oh my gosh, we talked about that during the MTC. So task flow, let me go back to it here in the video.
The thing in the canvas, the different.
Yes. What is it? What does it do?
Like it helps organize.
So we have this long workspace, right, with like endless items in that list. You just keep scrolling. You hope that you find the right one. Is there a better way to kind of visually represent that project? So with task flows, I think we talked about this, Tony, in the session. They don't do anything. Literally nothing. They're like a Visio diagram. They're a way for you to kind of conceptually organize all your stuff, and maybe like consider like a logical flow. So connecting different elements together. From here, my favorite part, especially since I'm not a professional developer, they have these built-in task flow templates. I keep hearing medallion everywhere I go. Everyone says you need to get a medallion. I have no idea what that is. But with the task flow, I click on it. It'll tell me all the required workloads that I would need to complete that. So it says deploy a lakehouse, use some pipelines, do all this other stuff. Just like going out and looking at Azure architectural diagrams, it's built into the service here for you. So maybe you're doing a Lambda project or event analytics, machine learning. Just click on those task flow templates and it will tell you, here's everything you should use. It's kind of removing some of that project complexity just right out of the bat. Awesome. Real-time intelligence. Anyone here doing real-time streaming data? Any organization, any machines, manufacturing? Yeah. So taking a lot of things that used to exist in Azure Data Explorer, kind of Kusto, bringing those natively into Microsoft Fabric here. So let's listen to Tessa. Their sound. Hopefully it'll catch up.
The hub is for your
There we
data.
go. Let's do it.
We'll start with the real-time hub, the new central place for all your streaming data. The same way one Lake Data Hub is for your data at rest, the real-time hub is for your data in motion. Here you can see a list of all of the streams that are available within my organization. And if I don't see the stream I'm looking for, I can use the wide range of connectors to both Microsoft services and cross clouds, whether my data is streaming from Amazon Kinesis, Confluent Kafka, Google PubSub, or Azure Event Hubs. I can easily connect and bring it into the real-time hub. There are even connectors to bring and change data feeds from database sources like Azure SQL or MySQL. In this case, I'll connect to my Azure SQL CDC feed, which represents all the changes in my customer stores. In just a few clicks, I can add the data stream to the real-time hub. Now I want to track deliveries from these stores. Opening a stream dedicated to the delivery feed, I see more information about the stream and where it's being used in the rest of Fabric. Now I can be proactive and track deliveries that are outside the standard delivery range. I can set alerts to monitor any event with a trip distance greater than 160 and alert me on Teams when this is detected. With integrations with Power Automate, I can also choose to pick up workloads in external systems. And with this latest update, you can even trigger actions within Fabric itself, like running a data pipeline or a notebook. I can also open the event stream and see how the data stream is being processed and routed to multiple destinations. Remember, even though these experiences are simple to use, They're built on proven Azure technologies that handle billions of queries and exabytes of data. One of my destinations is an event house, the ideal analytics engine to process data in motion, which is now generally available. Here I can use the intuitive UI and quickly query the data in my table. I'm going to use Copilot to help me understand the distribution of trip distance based on pickup location, visualized in the column trend. This could be easily pinned to a real-time dashboard, which I can share to the rest of my organization. And even if users aren't able to write queries themselves, they can use the new visual exploration experience to quickly gain insights. So that was a very quick tour of some of the new capabilities in real-time intelligence, with lots more in the release today. Prior to the real-time capabilities of Fabric, making use of streaming and real-time data required deep expertise and complex tooling. Now, with real-time intelligence and the real-time hub, we're democratizing the full end-to-end experience on how people ingest, analyze, and act on real-time and streaming data.
Ooh, awesome. Couple things here. Let me call out. If anyone is using like streaming data flows in the past from Power BI, hopefully the authoring experience looks very familiar over here. It's point and click. You don't have to write any code to kind of set up these ingestions. You can write it to a Custo database, and then we will automatically replicate that into OneLake. So if you want to keep those two in sync, you want to have some available for that, just really hot reads there, maybe against some telemetry in your machines. If you want to have more long-term for storage and just like, I want to analyze all this stuff over a 24-month period, right out in OneLake. And then, of course, let me see here. There was one other cool thing, data activator. Anyone start using that yet? A little bit? Yeah. So as events are occurring with some of that data that's coming in, hey, go kick off a pipeline. Send me a note on Teams. Send me a message on email. One of the things I'm like, the set alerts is very crazy, especially in the fact that we just announced workspace monitoring. So if you have active jobs that are running within Fabric, maybe it's not just streaming data from outside, but it's actual Fabric platform. Notify me when my capacity utilization is high. Go kill something, call an API. Maybe it's sending me a notice. Hey, I need to go hunt down this business because they use way too much of our queries, maybe in that day. All of your different jobs can now be written from that workspace monitoring into these event houses. So start thinking about that, especially from like an administration and kind of governance perspective. But I'll pause there. Any questions or thoughts? Real-time intelligence, especially if that's like the first time maybe seeing that. Everyone's ready? Real time?
No, it's I watched it's the same conversation we've had in the past. I watched you use Copilot and all that, and it's the disconnect between what the FSQs are to run a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
And when an organization will say, I'm sorry, if you don't have the skills, we're not letting you touch this type of an FSQ and how much we're paying. Right? It's going to go into an IT department with people like me who, yeah, we're going to use Copilot, a lot of these other things that we're going to learn about it. It's not going to be the business analysts in the business department that are going to get access to the SKUs.
So let me follow up here just so I understand the question. Is this related to just Copilot or just skills in general?
No, it's a comment about, I think there's a disconnect between what is being shown and its abilities and its awesomeness, but who it's being portrayed for versus in relation to a pricing model.
Okay.
No, there's no question.
No, all right. It's more of a commentary. He's saying, Alex, why do you keep wall gardening these AIs behind an F-64?
Well, no, that's what was originally my question.
I mean, it's right, isn't it?
Yeah, I had to reply to it.
That's part of it. That's part of it. That's where I was like, I think you're asking me two different questions. One is like, I don't trust my users. I'm never going to trust them. How do I kind of budget
It's
for
not
that?
that they don't. Yeah, well, no.
Start with small SKUs, right? F2.
But then you don't.
Trials. Oh my gosh. Have you even 60 days of free compute? There are extensions. Yeah. Yeah. Reserve. Lock in that billing. Yeah. Big time. I'm with him just on the reserve pricing. There's pay-as-you-go SKUs. So I thought we were all trying to be friends tonight. Here we are talking licensing. This is not going to end well, but
No, it's the opposite because I really want to see this. I don't even have access to it.
I know,
But
I know.
I want to see it succeed.
Yes.
But I'm also the one who is in these meetings where I hear the comments from
Yeah,
a CIO, saying, we're not gonna let them use that stuff. That's too much money, like,
Yeah.
like, we're not gonna let them take the Ferrari out. That's reserved for the people over here.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, you're giving us a Ferrari thinking they're gonna drive it. It's like, no, you buy a Ferrari and then it sits in the garage.
yeah.
It doesn't get used.
Yeah, that's where like I'm just trying to separate the two. One is like Copilot licensing. For those who aren't aware, it currently starts at an F64. GPU availability, hotness in the market, these are all things that are driving that. Do I believe, as Alex Powers, as a personal opinion, that will come down to lower SKUs? Absolutely. GPUs only get cheaper, the models only get faster, smaller, all the above. Like this is a moment in time issue. So if you're like, that Microsoft and their F64, fully believe. Like, let's talk about this 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I don't think it'll be an issue.
Then the other part was, then I went and I looked
Yeah.
at the pricing to say, like, even an F2 SKU, it's like
F2, $270 roughly.
Yeah. Yeah, so you might get more business departments that may pick it up. Use the word may pick it up.
Yes.
Where
I would position the small SKUs as something that's good for very scoped work or for personal and professional development.
I can't do anything in him.
Yeah, that's realistic. Like, I don't know a lot of people who are like,
yeah,
I'm going to fit my entire business in $270 and screw Microsoft. Like, that's just unrealistic. Like, you have big projects, you need to have big compute, like size it, use the trial, beat up on it, figure out what you actually need. And like build
the
budget.
reason why I'm bringing this up is because, like, I can think of right now, particularly in like the finance department, there are several people who are like power users of Excel and stuff. We could get some Fabric in their hands would be like, it would be fantastic, because in some ways Fabric is a way that they can play around. They can dev out, like, what's the
Yeah.
most, tell me the requirements of what you want, right? Whereas if you're like, well, we sort of already built it, you're like, awesome, I can take this and actually, like,
Yeah.
build something with it. But it's like trying to get SKU that's workable in their hands at a price that you let the CIO go like, we'll let them drive the Ferrari, but the Corvette, yeah, we'll let them.
Well, I'm gonna say I love these discussions. I'm not moving us along, but I'm just like, hey, we have a SQL Server development community here in this meeting tonight. Like, do you load up all the data into the database before you even start thinking about it? Or you start working with a couple schemas like empty tables and other stuff? Like, you start small, sample data, load it up. You eventually get there over time, but let's keep moving on just because the clock is not our friend. OpenAI ready, data lake, one lake, multi-cloud, open at every tier. Whew. My favorite slide, the OneDrive for data. Oh, what a great marketing tagline. You're going to think about that one tonight. I do think it's cool though. Like, you throw stuff in OneDrive, right? Like, throw everything in there.
It's not tied to the person.
What, OneLake?
Yes.
No, it's tied to the organization, and then your folders you can think of as your workspaces, kind of from an Azure Data Lake perspective. All right, OneLake is the OneDrive for data. So each one of these different product experiences, they're getting data from the OneLake, or they're writing data to it. So SQL database in Fabric, it does not have a proprietary format. It is still the same SQL format of tables and storage and everything else. We just replicate that data into OneLake for you. So you don't have to build the pipeline, you don't have to build the ETL, we do it. For Data Factory, of course, love copying data and landing it into it. Maybe we're moving it along kind of an enrichment zone, bronze, silver, gold, this whole medallion thing. And of course, analytics. The part for me that's so exciting is once we get data into the OneLake, any skill, any experience, any person can have access to it. Still same controls, right? Like, we can set up this table level, row level, and other things, but from there, we're collaborating around the same data. We're not duplicating it over and over again. So that's what's so exciting for me, especially as a Power BI person. 170 connectors in Data Factory, everything, Power Query, everything. One copy for all computes. Awesome. Let's hear from Justina.
Feeling familiar? Certain procedures. As a next step, let's go ahead and write SQL query to explore our data. To get started, I want to see how many rows of data I'm dealing with in my revenue table. Writing a quick query in the editor shows me I'm working with 3.5 billion rows of data, all sorted in the link. Let's write another query that looks at the sum of revenue and gross revenue across distribution channels and fiscal months. We're even going to query data across different lake houses and warehouses in our workspace, all in the same query. You can see that SQL query runs and returns the result almost immediately, scanning all the 3.5 billion rows of data and giving me my aggregate numbers. By taking a closer look, you can see it looks like I'm facing a data quality issue with my data. Instead of getting a channel name for one of my entries, I invent what appears to be the query instead. I'm going to jump into a notebook and use Spark to fix the bug. You can see that Lucas is tightly integrated with notebook experience. I can just drag and drop my table onto the notebook and run things in there. Upon running the cell, the notebook uses totally Spark live tools and it thinks it can run immediately. And in just a couple of seconds, I get a preview of my table. I'm now going to write some Spark code, replacing the grid with the correct channel name. Once my notebook has finished running, I'm going to immediately rerun the same query in the warehouse. You can now see that the issue has been fixed and all the data appears correctly labeled in the table. Finally, the business analyst can also make use of the data in the lakehouse. I can simply navigate to the built-in modeling view and start developing my BI data model without having the same warehouse experience. After all my data has been prepared, I can now move into creating a brand new Power BI report. As I open my report, you can see all the tables on the side, but no data has actually been loaded into Power BI at this point. This is just a pointer to Delta Parquet files stored in the lake. This is because Power BI has to go direct to the lake code, which means you can natively read Parquet files directly in the lake at delays and fast speeds. Let's take a look. I'm going to start by dragging in the count of rows, and we can see that we have 3.5 billion rows of data in the revenue table. I'm now going to drag in the sum of revenue. I'm going to break it out by product type. Let's make things nice and big. And then I'll also add fiscal quarter to the legend, and finally change the chart type. And you can see everything is going so smoothly. And as I slice and dice my data, I get all the interactivity you would expect with instant response times. This volume of data would take hours to ingest as standard ETL tools. But with direct link mode, users can now get amazing performance of input mode without needing to update data, managing refresh schedules, or worrying about leases. As a final step, we can take this even further and empower every Excel user to benefit from data stored in the lakehouse. Here I'm in Excel, connected to the MS Sales Lakehouse, and I can easily build out a pivot table directly onto the same data stored in the lake. To conclude, with Fabric, data engineers with frictionless experience building out their enterprise data lakehouse can easily democratize this data for all users in your organization.
Thank you, Virtual Justina. No more data set refreshes. Direct lake mode. Once data is in the lake, we will go directly against it. Who here is doing like 10, 20 millisecond analytics visualization with your Power BI report over 3.5 billion data? Russ, it's crazy.
But that's on the RBI service, not on.
So Sean's question was for that authoring that was done up in the web browser, is there anything I can do locally within desktop? Because I love desktop applications. We just released that last year. You can start doing remote modeling of direct lake models in Power BI desktop. So if you're like, hey, I like having thick applications on my desktop. And I'm doing everything in the web now. I don't even open desktop anymore. I'm honest, yeah. A lot of people I know, like I've just moved everything to the cloud. Awesome. All right. Unifying data, cross clouds and shortcuts and mirroring. So she added a little bit there in the icons, but if you have data that's already stored in Azure Data Lake and you don't want to move it into OneLake, we can go and just set up that reference pointer to it. So it's called a shortcut. So you don't have to move your data. If you do want to take advantage of those fast reads, though, you want to get that into Fabric. What we will do is apply V order optimization. What does the V stand for, Alex? V stands for Vertipack. Does anyone know what Vertipack is? Stands behind Power BI, yeah. So analysis services. We've done SQL Server analysis services before. A couple people, yeah. So Vertipack, that amazing algorithm that we wrote, we have proprietary, and like if you ever try and do it, we'll sue you. Yeah, we hold the patents. We took that and we applied it. So as we're reading data in, like, hey, I used to run this in Azure Data Factory. It takes just a few seconds or a few minutes longer in Fabric. It's because we're applying that compression. So we're doing all that work up front. So then that way, when you're ready to start doing analytics on top of it, boom, blazing fast. It is just columnar storage with Parquet. So we're reading the data, we're compressing the data, just getting it as optimal ready for you. So just kind of keep that in mind, especially if you have data out in AWS, GCP, Fabric link with Dataverse. Tony's doing a little bit of that already. It's pretty simple, not having to deal with data movement. Awesome. Julie, we have until 7:30, is that right? Awesome. Whew. Let me take a quick look here. I just want to make sure we get to some of the most amazing stuff. Let me move us into app dev. Just data, there's mirroring, there's free replication, app dev. Awesome. Anyone here using GraphQL today? Graph query language. So if anyone's building websites, if you're building front-end applications, more than likely you are using GraphQL. This was developed by Meta, by Facebook. They released it. It's kind of an open framework. Basically, you'll get a JSON response and you can start feeding it into your applications. Widely used, and this is now available within Microsoft Fabric on top of your OneLake data. My gosh, Alex, you're saying once I get data into OneLake, everything else unlocks for me. I can do whatever it is I can envision. Yes, it's my favorite part.
Check. New drop down menu is simply supply a name. Once the GraphQL API has been created, you will be prompted to select a data source. In this dialog, you can explore which data sources are available to you in Microsoft Fabric. Currently, GraphQL API supports the following data sources: SQL DB native, data marts, Lakehouse, data warehouse, and all mirrored databases, including mirrored Cosmos DB, mirrored SQL DB, and mirrored Snowflake. Let's go ahead and select this pre-populated AdventureWorks SQL database. In this dialog, you can select which tables or stored procedures you want to expose in your GraphQL schema. Clicking on a table or stored procedure will render a data preview on the right-hand side. Let's go ahead and select all tables that are available to us and click Load to generate the schema. Once the schema view has loaded, you'll be able to view the GraphQL schema with all the types, fields, and generated queries and mutations. Querying the GraphQL API is simple and easy, as we support querying right in the browser. Navigating to the Query tab at the bottom of your screen will reveal an in-browser text editor that will allow you to compose multiple queries. You'll notice at the moment you begin typing in the text editor that IntelliSense is integrated, and we can leverage this to help us compose our queries. For example, let's say you want to query the customer. We can do so by using the customer by key query. We can filter by a customer ID of 7. And let's retrieve the phone number. When we click Run, the results from the query will render in the results name. But let's say that we wanted to update this customer's phone number. We can easily do so using a GraphQL mutation, which is GraphQL's way of modifying data. Let's use the update customer mutation. And we'll use the same customer ID of 7. And then specify which fields we want to update. We want to update the phone field. Then let's also retrieve the phone field and the customer ID just to verify that it was properly updated. Super simple. Now, let's take a look at some of the more advanced features that GraphQL API and Fabric has to offer. Let's create a relationship. You can do so via the context menu. Let's create a one-to-one relationship from product to product category. And we could link on the product category ID fields. So here we can see that the new relationship has been created. And let's wait for the schema to refresh. With the schema reloaded, we can go to the schema explorer and expand the product type and see that product category field has been added to denote the relationship.
Oh, cool. Woo. Hold on. There was a lot in there since a lot of people said they don't have GraphQL experience. Go out. Beautiful watermark. Click the button to get started. It says, hey, here are all of your sources that you've been ingesting data and loading it into. Maybe it's into a lakehouse, maybe it's into SQL database, maybe it's a warehouse. From there, you select your source. And does anyone notice anything on the screen? You go a little bit further. What does it look like? Anyone notice that text? Get data, right? That's the same get data window we see in Power Query when we look at data. Click on our tables. What was another thing that we kind of saw at the end there? Relationship view. Yeah, you were like, oh my gosh, that looks just like Power BI when she was building out that relationship. Right there, new relationships from to. So you've never built a GraphQL application, get data, build relationships between tables, start writing your queries. So if I kind of go back here, mutations is a funny word, but that just means that you can write back to your data. So you don't need to wait for Translytical to do write backs. You can do that right now if you wanted. Oh, here we go. Query. It's that simple. You just reference the table, you reference your columns, you can start returning a JSON payload. So if you're building Power Apps applications, you want a JSON feed to start populating data directly against your lakehouse. Oh my gosh, here at the very top, did you see this? This little button, she didn't show it in the video, but copy endpoint. You'll now get an application endpoint that you can start calling and sending different queries to and returning those JSON responses. So if anyone's building websites and you're wanting to leverage the data that's kind of here within Fabric and OneLake, just right there, open and accessible. User data functions, again, that's like Azure functions. I kind of skipped the video here, but if anyone's interested in this, again, you can start writing C# out in the cloud, and then you can start running jobs. We're going to be using these a lot across Fabric, so kind of keep that in mind. Because for this, we're going to use translytical apps in Fabric. This is going to be leveraging user data functions. So what you're going to do is you're going to go and define that entire function, and then you can start using this within your Power BI applications. Take notes.
Like
Limited? I've never heard that word before.
So like in assemblies, like you throw an assembly into SQL space. I mean, it's a no extern, no. You don't touch anything except for your sandbox kind of thing. Is this?
Let's take a look here. Luis has a minute. I think we got a minute.
All I need to do is give a name, and I'm ready to write my function. You can see the Hello Fabric sample function that was automatically created. In the Functions Explorer, I can view the code behind my functions and even run them by providing the values to their parameters. This makes an interactive, low-code experience to run the logic behind your functions. After they run, you can see the output and any logs generated from their calls. If you want to diagnose any further, you can also view the logs for all the executions in your functions. Let's fast forward a little bit. I've created 2 new functions using VS Code. The first one is validate pipeline. I will call this function from a data pipeline to read from a data warehouse and check the integrity of its data. Let's go to the data pipeline. Here, you can add a function's activity and specify it to be a Fabric function. This will run once the copy data activity is completed. The next function, process stream, will be invoked from an event stream. It will aggregate events from a data warehouse and write them into a SQL database. Let's look at the setup in event stream. You can select a user data function as a destination of your event stream. This allows real-time data processing scenarios such as a Lambda architecture. And that concludes our demo. Thanks for watching.
Ooh, sure.
You write Python in those functions?
I don't know just yet. Yeah. I don't know all the languages that'll be supported. Question here was just, hey, what all options are going to exist here? So if we kind of go back here, demonstrating C# in this examples, how you would use these user data functions is maybe you have like a common function that every business unit could take advantage of. Maybe you want to start incorporating that into like a data pipeline or other items. You can start referencing these and just having these be like a global function that anyone could take advantage of. In this example, they attached it to what they landed some data in their data pipeline, and then they started enriching it with the function, or even placing in the middle of a stream here from a real-time job. But how we envision using this with translytical apps. Say it with me now, it rolls off the tongue. Translytical apps. Oof. It is a made-up word. Yeah, it's transactional and analytical. But get ready for this, because they're going to use the Fabric data functions with Power BI to complete write-back activities. So if you've been hearing about this, this is where they're doing it. Yeah. Not currently, but they're thinking about how they could start incorporating that for sure. Yeah, kind of like a global library for. Let's hear from Patrick.
Databases for tracking our sales pipeline, as well as the analytics my sales team is using to make decisions. If I look at the data source, you can see our SQL database and Fabric for the sales pipeline, where our sales apps are writing and updating data. If I switch back to my project, you can see we're also using Fabric with our data functions. In this case, we've created some functions for writing back to the opportunities table in our sales database. User data functions in Fabric provide a serverless computing service where we can run the code needed by our applications. For example, in this function, we've defined some input parameters in an update statement to write to our sales database. And right here in Fabric Editor, it's easy to test the function out. Let me quickly fill out the parameters, and we'll set a discount value for a specific opportunity and add a comment. Now, if I run the code, it's going to write this change back to our table in the SQL database. So there's lots of ways I could use this function, but what would be amazing is if I could easily integrate it into a Power BI report. And that's just what we've done. As I open up Power BI Desktop, you can see a report my sales team is using to analyze our sales backlog. And you can see the test update we just wrote back to the database. And what I want to do now is hook up our function to the submit button in this report. And I can do that with just a couple of clicks. Let's set the button to use a data function. Now I can pick my workspace, the function set, and the specific function I want to use. And now I can select the data fields from the report to bind into the function parameters, such as the discount field we've selected in the report. And now we're ready to go. If I open the report as an end user, I can directly submit changes to be written into the database. Let's slice and dice the report to find just the high-risk opportunities closed in October. Now I can pick the specific opportunity, select the discount amount, and add a comment. And now I submit. Immediately, I see the value updated in the report, which has been directly written to the SQL database in Fabric using the function created. And to show the flexibility of the user data function, we actually created another function here where we can update multiple records at once. Let's select all the high-risk opportunities closing in the next 60 days that have a quantity of 8 or more. I'm going to select the discount and add a comment, and when I press submit, all of the opportunities that meet the selected condition are being updated. This was a quick sneak peek of how we can bring together SQL databases in Fabric, user data functions, and Power BI to create translytical applications. But as you can see, this end-to-end integration in Fabric unlocks a massive number of new scenarios for your organization.
Wow. Tony.
Why wouldn't I just use a native SQL function or Sprock?
Yeah, so Tony's question was, why wouldn't I just go native SQL? For what? I'm following it.
This is right into a SQL database.
Yeah.
So a Fabric SQL database, right?
Yep.
So I imagine Sprocks and function UDFs are reported in the SQL database. So why wouldn't I use that instead of fabric function.
Let's go back here. So right here, he's referencing like a lot of his SQL statements. He maybe had some stored procedures. So that's where I was like, for here, it's more like the front end application where we just want to be able to have.
I think that Microsoft had a hard and fast rule against Excel or Power BI ever sending data out in any way.
So let me ask to make sure I
Yeah.
understand. So what I saw is he now has a way within a report to update that data back on the SQL database in real time. You're saying you can do that and you just use something different?
No, isn't that like part of Power Apps?
Oh, interesting.
The answer is so I have this perfect scenario. It's because the people, here's the scenario. Live scenario right now. My company is actually 5 companies working as one. Company one, and I could, company one calls it, Microsoft with a big M in the customer thing. Another one calls it Microsoft Seattle with a little m. And the unfortunate thing is the people who have the power sit at a layer that they're only going to look at a report. And there's hundreds of these customers where, you're a VP, you're a senior VP, and I'm a senior VP. We have to hash out literally which one in the database are we going to use because it's going to be used globally.
Oh.
And I can't get them to use a Power App. But we've got them trained on a Power BI report where if we had that capability, boom.
So
And now it's set into the single database that will rule them all. We've called it just Microsoft.
So I want to be respectful to all the partners who we're in an open relationship with. You can still use Power Apps today to do those write back activities. You could, absolutely. But if you want to start doing more, if you want to just do it all in one licensing, what do we call it? The one bill, right? The one bill. Yeah. Oh, I love that, Chris. Can I quote you on that? Yeah, I love that.
You can.
That's also gets separated, like
Yep.
deployment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Separated. DevOps.
Yes.
It's
I have to get it in my DevOps in my
funky.
and now I have to get involved because someone wants a field in their report.
Be respectful of time. We've got 10 minutes. But yes, remember, it just rolls off the tongue. What is it? Translytical. Yes, everyone. Thank you. Awesome. So unified data culture, we sit in the middle of where data lives. You're putting all this stuff into Fabric, into One Lake. You're loving One Lake. You're grabbing the stickers today, throwing it on your car when it warms up. You're using data warehouses for our good friend Steve Howard, who's in the region. He's building data warehouses and he lives in St. Louis. How cool is that? Yell at him, just like me. I love Power BI. That's where I came from. I came from Excel before that. If you want to connect to your Fabric data in Excel, get data from Fabric, connect to the lakehouse, connect to the warehouse, embed Power BI reports into PowerPoint, and throw it into Teams, SharePoint. I think that was something we talked about earlier. Outlook as well, and then of course Word. If you want to have some analytics, but the thing for me, oh my gosh, finally we can talk about it. Woo! Semantic models. So Power BI people, who here is using semantic models today? Yes, all of you, all of you. It's the important thing, right? It's where we put all of our tables, where we put our business logic, all those definitions, we document everything. We have evenly spaced column names for not always yelling at people in uppercase. We don't have dim and underscore facts over all of our tables. We do all the good stuff because it has the friendly names, and AI sometimes gets it wrong, right? The silver, gold, or what is it? Bronze, silver, gold. That platinum layer, I think, is what people are calling it now. The semantic model is that platinum layer where everything's been curated and ready for your boss, who's going to look at it every morning, right? So while it's not perfect, it's where we put in a lot of the effort for the friendly serving layer. We think that every semantic model should be a skill for your AI. So as your bosses and your colleagues are wanting to go out and ask questions, you've already done all the amazing work of defining relationships, defining your KPIs, defining all these measurements. Wouldn't that be an amazing source for your chatbots? That's what we're thinking. So let's take a look. Chatting with your data.
an information worker quickly and easily query all of their data inside Power BI and Fabric directly inside Microsoft 365 Copilot. Let's ask Copilot what are the sales for each year since the 2000s. Copilot queries my data and returns a result showing my gross revenue increasing at an annual rate of 20%. Copilot was able to understand that gross revenue is my measurement for sales and also shows me which dataset used for the answer from. I can see it got the answer from my finance revenue data, which is my certified source for my sales data. This helps me build trust between me and Copilot, as I was able to easily validate where Copilot got the answer from. Next, I will use the suggestions to ask a follow-up question to see how sales are broken down by country. Copilot makes it easy for me to have a natural conversation with my data. Now I see that the USA is leading by sales, followed by Germany and then the UK. I am curious how much marketing spend we're making in the US, so I'll ask Copilot to help. Now I can see that social media is truly helping in driving more sales in the US. Now, in this specific instance, Copilot knew that the answer was in a different data source and was able to easily switch context based on the question that I asked. Finally, I am curious what the best performing product is. Now, Copilot showed me two possible choices for what best performing means. In this case, I'm interested in best performing product by NPS and not sales. I select the right data source, and now Copilot returns me the answer. As you can see, Copilot dramatically decreases my time to insight and helps me get answers directly in context of where I need them.
Deep sigh. This is a recorded demo from a few months ago. I have this in my hands as live code in our tenant. So me and Sean can go play with this right now. This is not something that's futuristic. This is right around the corner. Parts that I love about this experience, hey, for anyone who loves building Power BI reports, man, amazing, hats off. I do not. A lot of my questions could be answered in just a simple bar chart. My boss has a question, they get their answer, they move on with their day. They don't need to go out and consume an entire report. That's how I feel about some of these experiences. Being able to identify different semantic models, again, this is now your knowledge source for a chatbot. You've enriched it, you've documented, you've described it, all of your KPIs are well defined, all these things are ready to go. Start using them for the source for the chatbots. Yeah, go ahead. Nobody's.
That like chatbot really can actually like give people answers like this.
Yeah.
Like if I give someone a report, like I'm all like generally it's like, here's this context, like watch out because someone hasn't done X, Y, and Z, and don't have data. This don't have data from those recent 2 months ago, or it's from an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
God knows who typed it in. Like,
And
it's job security.
yeah, yeah.
So I just like I think this is.
So the challenge is LLM technologies like this traditionally struggle hardcore with analytics, right?
Yep.
Where what Copilot and Fabric together, now you're actually able to bring the two together. That's what's really earth-shattering.
Yeah.
I think it depends too on where I would never start with sales. I come from a manufacturing background, and so where I find, and it's usually by site. So like I said, we have 5 companies. Is I would start with like inventory or logistics because those people are pretty locked in, right? And what they want to know is, you could ask something like this, like we have these part numbers. What if we change prices and we could have those things locked in? And it's like a balance, right? The really good analysts who work in inventory and logistics can kind of sniff a bad number really quick, but if you set it up. And so I think it depends. I know Microsoft uses sales and stuff like this because it's like that, but I think there is a place, but you have to, you get it locked in with like say inventory first. That's where I would probably use, at least in our setup, like literally like inventory that we're buying and bringing in. Right. And then we have the inventory that we have, then we have another set of analytics of inventory that we use on the shop floor, because that brings in like waste and things like that. And we bring in labor hours to see what they're doing. If we set those up, and usually, like I said, they're by site, I couldn't necessarily mix them between companies, but I could have database, we have databases set up where those are pretty solid. Maybe not for the whole SKU of stuff we buy, but a starting point where this would act, where like these questions, I would have to I'd build reports on for inventory like that could actually be added.
I'll give you the little bit of experience that I've had, unfortunately, in corporate America. Show me where revenue goes up or expenses go down. Like that's the thing that's most important. A lot of what LLMs will do is just expose your garbage data. So that has not changed any way, shape, or form. I think if anything, it empowers a lot of people who have always been like, why aren't we doing this? To hopefully like really sit and get in a room, Microsoft Technology Centers, if you don't have the opportunity, like please schedule it. We'd love to come hang out with you. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? I mean, I'm seeing it at the top levels where they're like, I don't care. Red tape has been cut. Go figure this out. Again, like AI is not something that's like, maybe in a couple of years we'll think about it. It's like everyone else is thinking about it. Everyone else is doing it. A lot of people are just trying to figure out where it best suits their business, but I'm seeing it at the highest levels.
The last two places I worked, the first reports I built, what I call is check your junk data. Where it's literally a report that I built for like a manager and had like your data entry and what the people were doing so they could see like, crap, wait, we sold $200 million. Well, no, because somebody fat fingered it in to change it, but then they could see who put it in. And it took them 6 months, but before I built the inventory one, I actually built like,
All
your
right,
data's dirty, or more literally is. That's what I call it. I've done it at both places.
I've got to hit our marks here.
The frontline people hate it.
I know. All right, I've got to hit my marks and go over a little bit over. Chat with all of your data. Every semantic model should be considered an AI skill. That's how you should be moving forward after you leave here today. What are we doing to enrich our model? How well is it documented? Going back to some of those questions earlier, getting your stuff AI ready. We're not doing it right now, but we're going to be doing it here soon. So human resources, finance, just think about it from like department level.
You think that all funnel under Fabric capacity again?
All of it still one bill. Hashtag.
Still check.
Yeah. So generative AI on your data. Again, what we saw in that video was him out in office.com. Think about your experience. You're out in Microsoft Teams right now. You click over that Copilot button, boom, your data, your questions, start typing them in. We sit in multiple places, open relationship. So let's look at this last video here. Couple minutes.
Custom generative AI to your data in Fabric. Let's create a new Fabric item. I'm going to name it Loyalty Member Support Insights because what I want to create is a custom generative AI tool where I can ask questions about loyalty members and customer support cases for those members. So the first thing I'm going to do is add my data from one lake. I can just select a lake house, and now I can select the specific tables I want the generative AI to have access to. And that's it. That's all the setup I need to do. And now I can start asking questions. Let's ask how many support calls we've had from loyalty members, but break it down from the source the loyalty member joined from. Now, behind the scenes, we use our AI models to generate a SQL query and give an answer. Now, this is a little different than Copilot and Power BI, because the goal here is to let you put generative AI directly on your data and then integrate it into your own custom solution. For example, giving your own custom AI solutions the ability to interact with your enterprise data. And the skill is really just focused on what it knows, which in this case is composed of Outdoors loyalty members, data, and support cases. Let's ask another question. Who is the most recent loyalty member to make a support call? And the answer is Angelina Schlitz. This is a good answer, but I'd like to include some supporting info. This is where I can add some notes to the model on how I want it to behave. I'm going to tell it to include some additional columns when responding about loyalty members. Now, let's rerun the query. And this time, the answer is bringing in the additional info. Now, let's ask for all the support calls from Angelina. And here's a list of the calls. Now, let's break down all of her cases by where they came from. And here's the breakdown. Now, let's do one more question. Let's ask for our top 10 loyalty members. And this time, it actually got it wrong. It just listed the members because it didn't know what to use for ranking them. If I quickly look at the data that's in the table I have, I can see I have a column for lifetime spending. Let's give the model a note to use this column when asking about a top ranking for members. And now we can get the correct answer. So finally, once I'm happy with the results, I can go ahead and publish this out. And right now in the sneak peek, it gives me an endpoint I can use to send questions to. But this is really an ideal fit for integrating this capability into other RAG-based AI orchestration options to give them access to your data in Fabric. Hopefully this is giving you an idea of how you can bring custom generative AI to your data in Fabric.
So that's gotta be the easiest agentic I've seen, if that.
I did that last year at DevUp conference. We had like an hour at the end of the day, and we're like, well, do we just want to play around with something? And we built an AI chatbot in 10 minutes. Yep.
We bring in future data. All of our lock out after a certain date. We know it's not something you should, but I want it in.
Yep.
But I would want an AI to not consider that.
Yeah.
Because then it will just, no one will believe it. So I was thinking, is there a way to get
Notes for the model. Yeah. And then I know in the,
ask this, don't look as far.
yeah, so his questions were, is there a way that I can provide instructions along with the model? What is it called? What's the technical term? What is it?
Agentics. A tool use agentics.
I don't know.
Context, yeah. System prompt for context.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We're all figuring it out together. Yeah. But out here, you can provide those notes. The limit here says 1,000. It's 15,000. I know this because I was working with a customer last Friday. They deployed one of these. And then you can also pop out SQL different scripts, and you can provide corrections where it's maybe inaccurate. So you can provide more of that training. Some of the word I was looking for, but I don't know. It's something else. But it's the metadata prompts. That's what it is. That's what you're including here within the notes. In this example, we're connecting to a lake house. You could think about connecting that to a semantic model and selecting the different tables, connecting that to an event house and going against Custo telemetry. That was their use case. We want to look at data in real time. We want to chat with it. We don't want to build a full-blown report. Publish button, you get access to this app, the endpoint. So you can start including that in your front-end applications. What you can also do, oh my gosh, think about this. Copilot Studio, that thing we were talking about earlier. Let's hear from Nelly, my good friend.
Microsoft Copilot Studio, I can easily build a custom Copilot to help my users with various tasks and insights. My colleague, who's a data domain expert in Microsoft Fabric, created an AI skill. This AI skill knows everything about customer loyalty members and their support cases. And now I want to enrich my custom Copilot with this skill. All I have to do is to add a new knowledge source from Microsoft Fabric. Here, I can search and select from a large set of Fabric items. I'm going to filter on certified items in my organization and then select the AI skill I want to add to my Copilot. And now, let's continue to test this experience. For example, I can ask which customer made the most recent support call, and the answer is Angelina Schlitz. And I can continue to drill down to learn more about her monthly average spending. In this way, I can enrich my Copilot with new knowledge about data in Fabric and keep refining it before I publish it to my end users.
Some
4-month project to do what you get to do in one click.
Yes. Knowledge sources. Did anyone see this on the screen? It went so fast. You can have Fabric be one source of knowledge. You can have your Dataverse be one source of knowledge. You can have your SharePoint folders be one source of knowledge. So then your chatbot has these different places it can look. Say, oh my gosh, I connected this thing with the SharePoint and this other thing, and I've got it all brought it together back for you in this response. The chat Copilot Studio. So if you're like, we're all in on Microsoft, we use a lot of the products. Oh my gosh, Copilot Studio. Think about, we built this semantic model. How do we start enriching it and getting it ready for this Copilot Studio stuff? But yes, I agree. Oh my gosh, that was way too easy. Power BI, Copilot, just thinking about how end users start exploring data. Not everything needs to be a full report. How do we start thinking about this AI and this chat capabilities, getting them to where they need to be with that data discovery? You're using the wrong semantic model. I think you should be looking at this other one, solving some of those problems and challenges. And then data is tier of the Copilot stack. So just think about getting all of your data into the one lake, start getting it ready, and then just sourcing it here for your end users through Copilot. Microsoft Fabric, hope you've enjoyed the unified data platform for AI transformation. Hopefully a couple light bulbs went off today. Maybe you've never seen GraphQL. Maybe you've only heard about Fabric user data functions. You're starting to think about how you can start using those in write back applications. Oh my gosh, some of these things, like you said, that would have been a 4-month project. You just did it in 3 clicks. It's crazy how simple this stuff is becoming. So with that, I just want to say thank you so much. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for attending. It's very cold. It's very cold. You all braved. You left the house.
I haven't been out for a few.
I'm not. If you are interested, we are doing a conference in Vegas. Tony will be there. I'll be there. FabCon. Take advantage of some discounts and codes. I think Cube 200 will get you 200 off, but start talking to your boss. Say, hey, invest in me so I can start deploying all this stuff for you. But with that, also, please kick the tires. You can get Microsoft Fabric free for 60 days on this trial, maybe even extended longer. Try it. If on day 59, you say, Alex, we couldn't find anything to do on this platform. Totally get it. Just giving that feedback.
We're giving the feedback like, I need longer.
Need longer, but please, no commitments. Go out and start trying this stuff.
I have a sign-in sheet if you didn't sign in. If you could do so, I'd appreciate it. I've been Julie Blomquist, and we're always in the back. We're with the SQL and BI groups. We really welcome you. Check us out. We're also on Meetup. You know, if you look up the St. Louis SQL and Business Intelligence User Group. This is being recorded and it will be posted on the YouTube channel. So just check out our website, and then I'll be putting a little blurb, you know, on the YouTube, you know, the link for the YouTube recording and everything. But we meet monthly. We do an evening and then afternoon. So feel free to, you know, join up and keep track of what our lectures are. There's SQL, there's BI, there's Azure, you know, there's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, the region has a lot.
Yeah. And we're looking for volunteers for speakers. But again, I wanted to thank Douglas and I guess CGI / Jordy for sponsoring, and they're going to continue to sponsor the meetings this year, which is great, and for the dinner and stuff. So thanks again, and thanks you, Alex, for
Thanks, Julie.
a big meeting.
Well, I'll still hang out if anyone has any questions or comments. If anything was like, that doesn't seem true, like how in the world, happy to demystify wherever we can. Yeah, go ahead.
All these integrations are great. What happens to sensitive data and if it's at a non-aggregated level? You
Rethinking.
have to put all of those RLS, OLS, and various levels.
Yeah.
To work as intended.
Yep.
What
Yep.
happens when you didn't put RLS on yet?
What does that mean?
You don't have a guy on your security.
I can't,